I saw the track here in Dover. Is this place really a monster to be racing on?
It is. I think mainly because, the speeds are so fast here, but because the banking on the straightaways, you fight the car almost as much down the straightaways as you do the corner. So, your typical mile-and-a-half racetrack, you get a little bit of time to kind of take a rest, take a break, check your mirrors. Here, you don't get that. So, because the speeds and the way the racetrack is, you just don't ever catch a break. So it's kind of like Bristol, but the speeds are twice as fast.
Right. So you have a lot of Xfinity starts, Cup starts. You've done a lot. So the track hasn't changed too much because it's an older track. But how have the changing cars kind of adapted to this track over the years for you?
In the Xfinity series, with the tapered spacer and the way the sport's kind of evolved, when you run here at Dover, you spend a lot of time on the gas. So, even though we have less horsepower than what the Cup cars do, the speed difference really isn't that great. So, you spend a lot of time on the gas. You have to be very aggressive for basically the entire race. That's the biggest difference in the Xfinity series versus the Cup is, when they throw the green, you're racing the entire time, elbows up, and with the new format for the Dash for Cash and the race being shortened, you really just don't have the time for your car to be ill handling. The other series, you can make multiple pit stops to fix your car. You really need to work hard on having a good driving race car as soon as they drop the green flag.
Right. Talk about this relationship with TriStar and really how it's transpired into this season for you.
It's I've had a relationship with TriStar through PME engines. Those were the engines I ran when I was in JJ Yeley racing the last 2 seasons. And after last year, we decided to make a change there at JJ Yeley. They went a different direction, and I came over here to TriStar Motorsports, and it's been great. I started off the season in the 14 car with Eddie Pardue as my crew chief, and we had a lot of really strong runs. Everything was inside the top 20, and felt like as a group, their program had made some pretty big gains from where they were last year. We were trying to seek some sponsorship, and we're still in the process before they decided to make a little change over here at the Zachary Toyota on the 14 car, and got in the car at Richmond and had a fantastic run. Went on last week to Talladega, and we're very, very competitive, and got caught up on the last lap. So, so far, it's been a lot of fun. The guys work really, really hard, and that's the best part about TriStar Motorsports is obviously it's a family-owned operation, and it's run with a pretty small group of people, but they all have so much dedication and heart that go into everything that they do. And when everyone works and puts that much effort into it, just makes you, as a driver especially, want to give that much more too, because it's more of a family type of program versus some of the bigger operations where it's a little bit more business.
All right. You talk about the process of getting into the car at Richmond. It was kind of an odd situation, but you got into it and you had such a strong run, almost got a top 10. So describe the process when it came to getting into that car for the first time.
Well, luckily for everyone, I guess, me and David are very similar in size. Actually, I wore his uniform and everything. So, it wasn't like we had to spend a lot of time trying to get me comfortable in the seat or have to move a lot of things around. And for me, Richmond has never been one of my stronger racetracks. So whenever they said, "Hey, we need you to jump in there," I was a little bit worried because it was just a place that I don't really always look forward to going to. And Frankie Kerr is an old sprint car racer. We've known each other for a long time before. We made it into NASCAR, and it's the first time I've worked with him as a crew chief. And he did some different things, a little unorthodox setup wise. And as soon as we started making laps, it's like, wow, this thing's really, really fast. And again, the car handled well right off the trailer, and those are the important things. So, it was good for everybody. Zachary has been very excited so far, and glad to represent such a large company with so many employees that, really this program is built for those guys, and to get them excited, enthused is what we're trying to do.
Did that Richmond run kind of have an effect on your future with this team? Was it kind of down to how you were going to perform in that race, or did that strong run really affect your future and keep you in this ride for the season? That's not really a question I can answer. Obviously, it was a great run for me, and I would hope that it was what Zachary was looking for, and for them to make a change. And I know that they didn't make their sole decision on that particular race, and there was a lot of other factors that went into it. But after Talladega having another strong run, they felt like for them as a company moving forward in the sport that they were looking forward to
trying to do something different. And I mean, even today we've unloaded and we were top 15 pretty much all practice, and the car's driving good. So again, for a program that's small and trying to grow, I think we're in a pretty good shot right now.
You have such a broad experience in NASCAR. What advantages have you seen in Xfinity so far? Because more than most drivers in this series, you have so much experience. Where does that play advantage when it comes to this series?
For me, I would say it's just a matter of getting the car handling right to where when we start the race, we're not having to make a lot of changes. And, again, it's tough to do because the sport evolves so fastly that the setups change dramatically. And, this year with the Xfinity Series going to bump stops, it's almost kind of starting over. So it's a little bit more similar for me just for a feel-wise from what we had on the Sprint Cup side for the last couple of years. Again, a lot of it Dustin and Frankie having a lot of experience in the Cup side. So, that really sped up the process for us catching up to where, the Cup-owned Xfinity teams already had that information. So that's been a big boost for us.
We're in the month of May right now. It's a very special time in racing, a special time for you. Going back to the Coke 600 in 2007, got your career best finish there. What did that do to your career at that particular time in that 18 car? What did that do to your career at that time?
Obviously that was my best finish in the Cup level, and it was just the whole event was a learning event for me. We were getting down to the end, and we had to save a little bit of fuel. And again, as a young guy, not knowing what I needed to do in stock cars, I had crew chief screaming at me to save fuel, and I learned from the patient standpoint that you can make a stock car go faster. So, from a career standpoint, it really just kind of opened my eyes up to things I was doing behind the steering wheel that I needed to change. And when you get to this level, it's hard to go ask a lot of drivers the things you need to know and learn. And because my time in NASCAR was so accelerated, I went to the Cup Series very, very quick. I missed out on learning a lot of things that the drivers get to do now in the Xfinity Series. So it was an eye-opener for me as well as learning experience. But it was a great race, and it was one of the highlights of my career still.
Right. Talk about the Indy 500. Doing that in 1998. What went through your head when the moment you realized you were gonna be able to be in that race?
It really never even sunk in, and even now it still doesn't. The fact that I was so young and got the opportunity to go do it, and very limited pavement experience at the time. The Indianapolis 500 was literally like my 14th time ever racing on pavement. So, when you tell people that, they're kind of in shock. But it was a great run, especially for a small team. I was actually this year had some meetings and some discussions about trying to participate in the 100th running in the Indianapolis 500, and it looked like it was going to be a real strong possibility about February. Unfortunately, in April, everything kind of fell apart with it. But it is something that I would like to try to possibly do again. Their sport has changed so dramatically from where it was when I was running that it would be a little bit more difficult to do. But as long as you get with a good program, I think you can still go in and run well. But again, it was a great race. The fans there are fantastic, and it's a great event. And I'm sure this year being the 100th running, it's going to be more like the old days where the grandstand's going to be packed. There's going to be a lot of excitement.
Did you ever talk to guys like Kurt or Tony who've done the Indy 500 since then? Kurt did the double. Did that kind of play a factor into you wanting to go back again since he was able to do it?
It did a little bit. Again, it was mostly sponsor driven. The group that I was talking to wanted to do Indy, and we kind of started. We put the cart before the horse, started working on some of the programs to where I could try to run and do the double. I would actually done the triple because I would have been in the Xfinity Series too. But again, it just didn't work out. But again, it's nothing I'm going to rule out as a possibility for maybe next year too.
How many times have you been to the Indy 500 since then? Do you go every year? Do you watch it on TV? Is it still that can't miss?
No, I still watch it. Obviously, up until for every year since then, I've been running in the Coke 600. So I'm not going to fly to go watch it and just get back to Charlotte to go run. But it's definitely one to watch on TV. And the race has gotten better. The competition level for those guys has gotten a lot closer. So when you have 10 or 15 guys still on lead lap trying to win the race at the end, it is a big difference from, years and years ago when there was only maybe 3 or 4 cars. So, I'm a racer. I'll watch about anything. So, if I'm not racing, I'm going to go catch whatever I can.
Is the pre-race to the 500 really, how different is it really? You got that big a crowd there. They introduce your name with everybody. You're racing against legends back in '98. So, what was that experience like for you for the first time?
It was definitely one of those things that you never forget. There were just so many colors and the fans, and the pre-race and everything that leads up to Indianapolis 500 is almost bigger than the race itself. So, going through Carb Day and the way that the fans are allowed to interact is very unique and a very cool thing. And ultimately, I think that's what's kept the fans coming back year after year after year, is the ability to go and enjoy themselves, go have a picnic in the infield, still catch all the racing action at the same time.
Tony was in that race. I'm not quite sure. Where were you guys relationship-wise? Did you race in dirt before then? Was that kind of an early memory for you two?
No, at that point, I was actually a satellite teammate of Tony's because we were driving for John Menard at the time. But, I had run against Tony plenty of times on dirt and still did after that point. He's always been one of those guys that, everyone's kind of looked up to, me included. He paved the way for dirt racers to get to IRL, to get to NASCAR. And, I had him as a teammate, I had him as an owner. And ultimately, he's the biggest racer, race fan, lover of the sport that still exists. And when people in my era look back at legends, you think of Dale Sr., AJ Foyt. You go back to the earlier ages of sprint cars and Indy cars. And I think as these next generations come up and come through, Tony Stewart's going to be that next guy that you think of as he's the all-around guy that can do it all.
What was your first impression when you heard he was going to be hanging it up after this year?
I'm not completely surprised. Obviously he's gone through some pretty tough things here in the last 2 or 3 years, and I know that he's obviously not going to quit racing. It's just going to give him the opportunity to be able and go have fun. If he wants to go race a dirt late model, if he wants to go race a sprint car, he can go do it, and he doesn't have to tie in or worry about the NASCAR aspect of the owner, Tony Stewart. He gets to just be a race car driver that wants to go race on Saturday night or Tuesday night or whatever night he feels like. So, I think he's obviously at the point in his career that he's accomplished everything he wants to accomplish, and he wants to go out there and enjoy himself.
What about running the Truck Series at Outdoor? Have you done? You have not. Do you have any?
I've looked into it a couple times. I came really close 2 years ago to filling in for someone to go and run Eldor, and it's a great racetrack. I've won a lot there in the vintage sprint car. It would be definitely a different experience racing a truck there, and I would hate to go there not completely in a position to go in the race. So, being in both other series, it's difficult to either put a sponsorship together or just go jump in the truck and find something that's competitive enough to go win. So I've kind of shied away from it until that right situation has come along. So we'll see how things go in the next couple of months. I've had some people that showed some interest in going and doing it, so we'll see. I've definitely not crossed that one off the list yet.
Talk about competitive equipment. You obviously with Joe Gibbs racing the 18. What's it like being with Joe Gibbs and being with a team that strong? You're with guys like Hamlin and Tony, and you're at such a high level with one of the biggest teams in the sport. What was that experience, getting it rather early in your stock car career? What did that do for you?
Obviously it was huge. I had a lot of top 5s and top 10s in both series, and gave me the credibility to where I can still be in the sport now and allow myself to learn enough to stay here and be competitive enough. But unfortunately, my time at Joe Gibbs Racing, Joe was still coaching the Redskins, so I didn't get to see a lot of him. But everyone spoke very highly of him. He had so much respect that when he did have a day off, whatever it may have been in the off season, he'd come to the shop. Everyone just flocked to him because he is such a great leader. JD was pretty much the guy in charge, and he did a fantastic job. But I know that there was a huge difference between the two. But back then, we were very competitive. Not the dominance that they have now. Those guys are definitely been on top of their game now. So it was this sport, everything goes in cycles as far as the big teams, and you look now like Hendrick and some of those guys are struggling a little bit. But it was great being a part of a program that was that large that put that much effort into the program to win races and try to win championships, and it was definitely a lot of fun.
You see any opportunities to get back in swing cup series?
There are. The sport has changed a lot more this year than it has because of the charter system and some of the things that NASCAR has put into place. I've been in constant conversation with the program that they're getting closer to getting their sponsorship finalized, and hopefully, if everything goes as planned, should debut in about 60 days. So there might be an opportunity here before the end of the season. I'll be back in Sprint Cup Series 2.
Okay. So final question, how does TriStar compare to every other team you've been to? What do you believe makes TriStar a special organization to be with?
I think it's a great program mainly because the people that are involved with it. I mean, you can go buy all these pieces and build these cars and do all these things, and usually it's the people that make the biggest difference. And again, it's a small company, not a lot of employees, and everyone gives 100% all the time. And anytime you have someone puts that much heart and soul into it, that kind of love will outperform people who do it just as a job. So, we work very closely to each other, and I think that's where we find our success.
Listen, man, I had a great time, great answers. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Not a problem. Have a good day.
You too. Thank you.
Jacket.